Okay, so we're learning the Maimer Basi Lagani Toshin Mem Dalid. We are holding Eis Zion. At least it's Eis Zion in the old print. We're discussing the Maimer until now. That the Friedrich Rebbe says, V'ata Mechayas Kulam, that the Eivishter Chayas that comes into this world reaches all the way down into the lowest of levels, that even over there you could see and experience the Eivishter.
Ato.
Ato, Lashon Neichach. And there we got into an inning that there's an inning of shame and there's an inning of chayas. That shame is behelem, is something that comes behelem in a hidden way, and oir is something that comes in a revealed way. And Deb is going to discuss now why you have both. What's the mila in this? What's the mila in that? And how they both come together. So we're going to start now with Ois Zion. The Indian who that the Medrash says that the Eibishter traveled the distance of 500 years in order to acquire for himself a name. In other words, before that he had Kiviyachol Din of Eir. But to have a name, Shem, you had to go even further. You had to travel 500 years beyond that in order to reach the idea of Shem. In other words, the Sheiresh Hashem Hulumayla Misheiresh Ha'eretz. The Rebbe Menashes Mevayer that Shem is rooted in a deeper place than light is rooted. Although the idea of revelation, where you could actually see the thing, that's dafke when something comes in a eifin of in a hamshacha that's of the type of of light. The hume'ein hamar, because is similar to its source, to where it comes from. And through the light, you could have a comprehension and a grasp in the quality and the greatness of the light, of the source of the light. For example, you have the light of a candle, the light of a torch, the light of the moon, and the light of the sun. This is going from a lower level to the highest level. Which the difference in the quality and quantity of the light of each one of them shows that the source of the light of each one of them was greater one than the other. The light of the candle comes from a candle, and since the light of the candle is very little, so therefore you know that its source is small. And when you go up to the torch and then to the moon and then eventually, ultimately to the sun, and over there you could see from the amount of the light and from the quality of the light that its source is very great. So is something that comes out of its source, comes out of its makar, in a way that it reveals what its makar is all about. Why? Because it's davuk, it's connected to its makar, and since it's connected, so it maintains the same characteristics as its makar, and it shows them, and it reveals them. Masha'enkin, when something comes out of its makar, when something comes out of its source, in order to bring energy further down the line, in a eifin, by the mechanism of what's called shame. So when that happens, from the name of a person, you can't have any comprehension or any grasp in the essence of the person. You have several people who go by the same name, and since they have the same name, it shows that their source is the same, and nevertheless, they're completely different in their seichel and in their midas and in their actions and their temperament. So even though the shame is that combination of letters and words because of what its source looks like in accordance with its source, nevertheless, you can't understand what its source is just by looking at the name. And that's why when you look at different people, you can't get in what way their source differs. Furthermore, the gam shem hamin, never mind the individual names of people, which is a smaller amount of chayas. You can't see in it its source, even the general name of a whole species or of a whole category of things, which the general name shows to an even greater extent on the chayas. In other words, it's a much greater level of chayas, and still over there it comes behelem. As we can understand from the fact that the Eibishter praised Adam that he knew what to name every species and every kind of thing in the world, because he was able to recognize and to ascertain the source of the chayas of every single creation. Ubeim Hashem hayamer begilui. If the name was something that shows in a revealed way what its source is, just like the light does, what would be the great wisdom of Adam Rishon that he was able to recognize what the source is from the name? If the name reveals it, so there's no even a child can look at it and say, oh, this thing comes from this source. So obviously it's something that's completely hidden. So from this we can understand that the ha'ara, in other words, the it's not, the ha'ara over here, not in the sense of light, but in the sense of what comes with the shame, even in the general name, which shows on the general source from which it comes from, it's hidden, it's concealed. That the Eibishter gave Adam Rishon gave a name to the Eibishter, and he called him Adonai, from the lashon of Adonai, from the lashon of the master. Why? Because you're a master to all of your creations. That you required dafka the wisdom of Adam Rishon to be able to understand what the name of the Eibishter is, because even the name of the Eibishter comes in a hidden way, in a concealed way. So in other words, like this, you have the lowest level of chayis that comes to a person based on his individual name. And then you have the chayis that comes to a person based on the name of a human being, of an Adam, that he's called an Adam. And that's also Behelim. And then you have the name of, even the name of the Eibishter, which shows on the highest and on the greatest level of chayis and energy. That also you still can't see in the shame, in the name, the source from which it comes from. Okay, so Aklal. You have the makar, you have the source from which the chayis, from which the life energy comes from, and you have two different ways that the life energy can come out of its source in order to give life to the place that it's coming to. One is in an eifin of eir, and the other one is in an eifin of shame. When it comes in the way of eir, by the mechanism of eir, so then it reveals, it shows something about its makar, about its source. When it comes by the mechanism of a shame, in a way of a shame, in the way of a name, so it doesn't show it all on its source. It's completely hidden.
Well, it's more connected.
Connected is dafka the one word that you can't use, because you see he says in the parentheses, but let's see. I'm not sure which word to use, but
Not connected. It reveals that it's connected to the atzmos of the person of shame.
Let's see his word in 3 lines. We'll see his asius, and we'll see if we could put it into common language words. Nevertheless, there's a maila in a life energy that comes in the form of a name, al compared to a life energy that comes in the form of a light. The even though the is constantly connected, attached to its source, and it's similar to its source, still hurak ha'ara bilvad. It's only a ha'ara. Masha'enken shame, on the other hand, has shame. Even though it's separated, it's separate from its source, and its source is concealed in it. Still, hu mushrash b'ha'etzem. It's rooted in its source, in the essence from which it comes from. And since it's rooted in the essence, therefore it's also mamshich the etzem. The best I could come up with it is like this. If you imagine light, so imagine you have a light bulb. You have the old style incandescent light bulbs where you have filament, you have that metal, looks a little bit like a coil, and it's in a vacuum, and the vacuum, in order to keep it in a vacuum, it's surrounded in a glass, so that the vacuum should remain, so that there shouldn't be oxygen, so that the filament shouldn't burn up the second it gets heated. And together that makes a light bulb. And then you heat the filament, and light starts coming out of it. So if we think about this, where did the light start? Is the light rooted in the essence? Is the light rooted in that filament? It's not rooted in the filament. It's something that starts on the outside of the filament. You heat up the filament becomes bright, and therefore the light starts coming out of it. The filament is a metal. The light is epis photons, those who know, it's something else entirely. It's a stream of energy, of particles, of photons that come out of the filament because it's excited, because it's hot. So the light shows you that the filament is bright. And if you have a larger filament and you have a higher capacity light bulb, so you'll have more light coming out of it. So it's connected to the light bulb. It shows you the quality of the light bulb. But where does it start? It starts on the outside, so to speak, of the light bulb. It's not connected, it's not rooted in the core material of the light bulb, which is a piece of metal. It's not
The electric that goes through it.
or the electric goes through it if you wish. It's so on the one hand, it's connected to the light bulb, and it's similar to the light bulb in the sense that the light bulb is bright and the light is bright. And depending on the color of the filament, that's what the color of the light that comes out of it is gonna be. So it's connected to it and it's similar. It's davuk and it's me'ain. However, it's not rooted in the essence of the light bulb. It's something that emanates, so to speak, from the outside of it, from the external surface of the filament. That's where the light emanates from. So it's not mushish in the etzem. This part of the muscle mamish doesn't work in the nimshal. But what if you took a little piece of the filament? You took a little piece of the filament, you took it outside of the light bulb, and you brought it somewhere. So now you look at it, you see just a piece of metal hanging around somewhere. You can't tell at all that it came from the light bulb. It's no longer a part of the light bulb. It could be a piece of metal that came from anywhere and has and is part of a different object entirely. However, this piece of metal is rooted where? It's rooted in the essence, so to speak, of the light bulb. Does that make sense?
It's the essence of the light bulb is actually the electric that's powering it. Without that, you have nothing.
Okay. If you want to
No,
look
no,
at,
I'm
if you want to look at it that way, then it won't work for the muscle. But if we'll call the essence of the light bulb the physical matter of the light bulb,
Okay.
not the energy. If we look at it that way, then you could say it like that. Like I said, it's nicht a muscle that brings sich up in Chassidus. It's just something that I'm trying to
So
get
that's a
myself a
muscle
picture.
for oil.
It's a muscle for oil, but it also says what would
what
the
about
etzem.
shame?
So shame is like taking a piece of the light bulb and bringing it somewhere. Shame is something that comes out of the light bulb, but not from the outside surface because it's bright. So therefore, it generates or produces light. It's like taking something of the light bulb itself, a piece of the light bulb, and bringing it somewhere else. And now it's not bright anymore because it's disconnected from the light bulb and it's disconnected from the electricity that's in the light bulb, if you wish. So now it's not light anymore. It's not bright. You can't tell that it comes from the light bulb. It's behelim. But it's rooted. It comes from the light bulb itself. Masha'enkin the oir comes from the surface, from the outside of the light bulb. Okay. But nevertheless, since the shame is rooted in the essence, so to get back to what you were saying before, if you want to understand, if you want to say in a word the maila of shame, the maila of shame is that it's mushish in the etzem, that it's rooted in the essence itself. Oir is connected to the essence, but it's not rooted in the essence. Shame,
It's not the etzem.
it's not the etzem. Shame is connected to this, is rooted in the etzem. I don't know if you could call it etzem itself, but it's rooted in the etzem.
Mamshich the etzem. Yeah.
So since it's rooted in the etzem, therefore it's the mamshich the etzem. And for example, when somebody faints, in other words, what happens when he faints? The hispashtus of his chayis isn't present. In other words, his chayis comes from his nefesh, and his nefesh is mispashet in his guf. What happens when the nefesh is mispashet in the guf? So now the person could think, the person could feel, the person could take action. He could draw pictures. He could do things with his hands. He could go places with his feet. This is all the hispashtus of the chayis that comes from his nefesh and spreads out into his body. Masha'enkin, when he faints, he can't do any of those things. Why? Because the chayis from his etzem isn't mispashet, it isn't spreading and revealing itself in his body. What's left? The person is still alive. He's not dead, he's alive. So the essence of the chayis still finds itself in his body, but the hispashtus of the chayis isn't present in the body. And what do you do with this person to try to revive him? By calling him by his name, you could revive his soul. In other words, you could bring back the hispashtos of his chayas into his body. Because by calling the name, you actually draw down the essence, you bring it out into the hispashtos so that it should be revealed. Furthermore, we find that it's not only in the general name of the person, but you find this quality also in when you call the names of the different capacities that a person has within him. You draw down these qualities, these capacities that the person has. The Alter Rebbe explains in Torah, or that by calling a person by the name of Chacham, or by calling a person by the name of Chassid, so you draw down the Koyach of Chacham and the Koyach of Chesed that he has within him. Like the Alter Rebbe, I think over there says, to a king, that by praising the king and speaking at length about his great wisdom or his great kindness, so you cause the king to perform kindness. And therefore, when you come to a king and you ask him, can you do this, that, or the other? So you start your whole speech with the honorable, great, all merciful king whose kindness knows no end, and his great compassion gives, provides for all of the people in his country, and his goodness can't be compared to anything. And you give us a whole long hakdama, and then that arouses within him his kindness, and then you can ask him, and he'll actually heed your request. So to an even greater extent, through this that we call the Eibishter, by the name of a Chacham or by the name of Chassid, we awaken and cause the Eibishter, that he should bring out light into the level of Chacham and bring out light into the level of Chesed, even though before the creation, Chachma and Chesed did not exist even in a concealed state. In other words, they did not exist at all. And therefore, it's explained in various places that calling a name, you reach to a higher place. Even then, the Esses Spheres Hagnuzis, the 10 spheres which are hidden, which are not revealed. Because even though the Esses Spheres Hagnuzis, which is a very high level of the Esses Spheres, even though it's a very high level, but still, it's still 10 spheres. They're gnuzis, they're taka hidden, they can't be revealed because they're higher than the concept of revelation, they're beyond revelation, but still they are an entity of 10 spheres, each one unto its own. Masha'enkein, the shame reaches a higher place, it reaches a place where you don't even have Esses spheres yet. In other words, it reaches into the etzem, and from there you draw down the 10 spheres. And even more so when it comes to the name of an individual person. In other words, of the person in his entirety, like Reuben or Shimon, which is higher than the general, than a particular name of one aspect of the person, of one dimension of the person. Like the fact that he's a Chacham, calling him a Chacham or calling him a Chassid, through this, that you call the person by his name, you draw down the etzem into the person. Okay, so we have the idea of and this is really the end of the beer over here. In this mind, we're going to get to and Shem. We have the idea of which is something that comes out of its source in a revealed way, and therefore it reveals what its source is like, and therefore you can see, you can connect to the source by connecting to the light because it shows it to you. And then you have the idea of shame, which is a different mechanism through which something comes out of its source. However, in that way, it comes in a way that you can't connect to the source. You don't see the source. It's connected to the source taka, but you can't see the source in it. Like the name of a person, which the name of a person, you can't have any understanding, any notion of what the source of the person is like. Of what the source of the person is like from his name. You can't see that. Masha'enkein, however, on the other hand, when you call a person by his name, you actually draw down the etzem of the person. And as you can see that now a person who fainted, suddenly his etzem, by calling him, you revive him. In other words, you draw his etzem out into his seichel and into his midas, and now his seichel and his midas start functioning again. So the Maila in Eid is that it's revealed, and the Maila in Shem is that it's rooted in the
That's it.
Etzim, and it could draw down the Etzim. Okay. And now we can understand why the life, the godly energy and life that comes into the creations, the Eibishter gave it to us also in a Eifin of shame. Even though shame brings down the energy in a concealed way, where you can't see the source from which it came from. Nevertheless, the Eibishter did kish Maila b'shem she'ena ba'er, because there's a Maila and shame that does not exist in the Eifin, in the way of Eir. The Ha'er, ima yesim ein ha'moed hu ha'arabul. The Eir, even though it's similar, it's similar. It looks like its source. Nevertheless, it's only a reflection, a ray that comes out of the source from the outside of the source. And certainly when the Eir comes in the Eifin of Chayis, which then it's already, like he's going to say in a moment, it's a ha'ara, it's a constrained level of Eir. So over there, certainly there's even less of the etzem in it. And it's not the etzem. In other words, and therefore you have a mile and advantage in shame that it touches, it reaches the etzem as well. In other words, like this, the Eibishter created the world with two types of energy, created everything in the world with two types of life energy. One of them shame, and one of them Eir. The reason why the Eibishter gives energy to the world in an Eifin of Eir is because Eir is revealed, and therefore we can connect to the Eibishter through Eir. We can see the Eibishter through Eir, just like you can see what the candle is by looking at the light of the candle, and the light of the sun you can see by looking at the light of the sun. But something that you can see, if you can see, so to speak, the Eibishter, if you can grasp the Eibishter, you understand that it's not the etzem. It's not. It's a very low level. It's a very limited level that comes from the outside of the etzem, from the outside of the source of the market from which it came from. Therefore, the Eibishter, mituvay, since the Eibishter wanted to truly be connected to us, so he also gives the highest to us in the Eifin of shame. I'm
saying that was the obvious, but to us, that's the whole. I'm saying that's the whole thing. The shame is
now we get
shame is Havaya Lakim. The shame all.
Then in Matan Torah we have the gili of the etzem.
Yes.
Okay, but the Eibishter also wanted, but the Eibishter also wanted that we should be connected to his etzem. The Eibishter wanted dir b'tachtenim, in other words, that the etzem should be able to be revealed down here in this world, for the essence to be revealed. That you can't draw down the essence until the times of Mashiach, and the Eibishter is going to do this thing that now you could live the etzem in this world the way it is now. He couldn't do it in a way that you can see it, because if you could see it, there wouldn't be a world. It's beyond what this world can handle. So therefore, he also brought his energy into this world in an Eifin of shame. And when it comes in an Eifin of shame, so now you have something that's mushish in the etzem, and therefore it's mamshich as the etzem. It draws down the etzem. But it's disconnected. We can't see it. What's our job? Our job is to work with the shame, with the bechina of shame, which is the bechina of light, and reveal. The bechina of Eir. Our job is to work with the bechina of Eir, which is the bechina of light, and light reveals everything. And this light, this Eir, reveals the truth of the shame, where now we see suddenly in this shame, it's mushish in the etzem, and through this we're mamshich the etzem, begili also into this world, which ultimately, like we'll see at the end of the Bible, will be when Mashiach comes. So that's our job in this world. Over here, Rebbe says something, and you could read the next. You could read the end of the paragraph, and it seems like just it's just a small addition, a slight addition to what the Rebbe said before. I see in it something very beautiful and very astounding, actually. Only I can't say if it's true or not, because I don't know. But let's see. Just like it has been a get to the name of everything, which when we say the name, what do we mean to say when we say the name? We mean to say the name in Lashon Kodesh. The name in English is a Shem Heskemi. It's not a name with true meaning. It's just a combination of letters and words that people needed something, they had to call it a table. So they called it, they had to refer to a table where when I say a word, you know what I'm talking about. If I say, give me the table, you'll know what you want. Or if I'll tell you the sefer is on the table, you'll know where to find it. So we give it a name of table. But it's not like the name Shulchan, Shin, Lamed, Ches, Nun, in Lashon Kodesh. That's a real name. Why is it a real name? Because those letters and in that order shows what the source of the chayis of the table is, where the chayis comes from. So Asher Yikru Lashon HaKodesh. So just like it's true when you get to the names that we call things in Lashon HaKodesh, Hashem Hu HaChayis Shaloi Al Derech Zeh. So too, Hu Gam Benegel Hashem Asher Belaz. It's also true Benegeya to the names that we call things in the language of each country, in the languages of the nations. And this is already a tremendous chiddush. Why is it a tremendous chiddush? If you recall from earlier in the Maimer, why did we say that the name of something shows on its chayis? Because the Eibishter created the world with letters, asarim amoris, with words, right? Yehirakia, etc. So these letters are written in the Torah, and through these letters is how the Eibishter creates everything. And then from the general letters that are written in the asarim amoris, the Eibishter also has, through a system of chilufim and gematriyos and tzirufim, eventually the letters are combined and changed through thousands and tens and millions of times until finally you come to the name of an individual thing. But these letters, because they're letters, they still contain within them the light that was in the original letters. So when you say that the name of something shows on its sheidish and on its chayis and lashon kodesh, that makes sense. We understand it. That's something that we know already. Over here, the Rebbe says something tremendous. That it's also true when you get to the names in English and French and Arabic and all the other things. It's also true over there. Why? The names of things in English aren't in the asarim amoris. How does that work? So the Rebbe says like this: Mikivon shekol ha'inyanim heim b'hashgacha pratis. Since everything is b'hashgacha pratis, and if it ended up being that in English you call this a table, it's not because nobody has control over what happens in the world. The Eibishter is in control of every single detail down to the last level. Like the Frierdiker Rebbe says, the way a blade of grass bends in the wind is negeya. It happens b'hashgacha pratis, by the Eibishter's individual attention to this blade of grass, and not only that, is negeya to the fulfillment of the kavanah of the entire creation. So this blade of grass and the way it bends is connected to the entire universe. The physical universe and also all of the spiritual universes is connected to that. And the intention for which the Eibishter created the world cannot be completed if this blade of grass doesn't bend just in the exact way that the Eibishter wants it to. It's a crazy concept if you think about it. Sayem Yem, the Frierdiker Rebbe says. So everything is b'hashgacha pratis, including the names of things that they are called in English and in every language, and in French and in Spanish and in German, etc., in Russian. So if so, then you could say, Taka, that the name of something in English has to do with its chayis and its sheidish.
Why?
Because otherwise it wouldn't have that name. The Eibishter was arranged through hashgacha pratis that it should have this name, because this name, Taka, has to do with this object. It's Taka, something that has to do with the chayis of this object. And that's why the Eibishter did it. So
everyone spoke about, you were called Crown Heights,
yeah,
Kingston, President.
Yeah.
It's all
Malchustik.
Malchus, and it's all, and it's not stam. It's echt belaz, but
So there you go. And so we see the way the Rebbe did it. And the Rebbe is going to bring now, where does the Rebbe take this idea? He brings this idea from the Blavik, from his father, that the Blavik did that.
Levi said you shouldn't go from this street, you should go the other way.
Because of the names of the streets.
You got the name of the streets and the numbers.
Yeah. So, Ulay Yeshleimar, this is the part that I'm really not sure about. Ulay Yeshleimar, that if the name of something in Lashon Kodesh is Mushrash in the Etzem, and why? Because it has to do with Asarim Amoris, Ulay Yeshleimar, that the name of something Belaz, in a way, is even Mushrash in the Etzem even more. I don't know if you could say such a thing, but why? Because the reason why it's Mushrash in the Etzem, it's had Lashon Kodesh, is for a reason. It's how the asis. We have a reason for it. It's a mechanism that we can understand. It's an idea. It's a concept that could be explained to us. Masha'enkin, the system of the names of things in English that is connected to the etzem is something we can't understand at all. What's compelling us to say it? The fact that we know the Eibishter is in charge of the world. Hashgacha pratis. Nothing happens by chance. Everything's exactly the way the Eibishter wants. In other words, it's not something that we can understand. We're reaching over here deeper into just this plain simple haidah, this thing that we admit that everything that happens in the world is the way the Eibishter wants it, even though it's way beyond our understanding. We can't even understand it in an eifin of Asius, in an eifin that there's light, there's energy that comes through the letters. We can't understand it. It's mushash ulei yeshlem. It's mushash even deeper. Even if you're going to say that lav dafka, that you can't say that it's mushash deeper, but what you could certainly say is that it's chayder deeper, that it permeates deeper. When you say that the name of something in lashon kodesh connects it to its essence, so that's only on the level where you look at things in a ifin of lashon kodesh, which is the Eibishter sprach, which is the sprach of Torah. Masha'enkein, when you look at things from the point of view of a goy, and you look at things from the point of view of the languages of the different goyim, over there you say that it's not connected. And over here the Rebbe is saying no, that the shame, when the energy to this world comes in an ifin of shame, it permeates even down into the level of goyish languages. That even over there's a piece of the etzem, something that came out of the etzem that was drawn down all the way even into the goyish languages. So this idea of Dira B'Tachtenim is brought out even more in the names of things that are called Belaz. And who do we see this from? We see this from Rebleivik. And who's making a big task about this? The Rebbe is making a big task about this. In other words, the Rebbe is revealing, the Likus is revealing Achdus Hashem, not only in the names of things in Lashon Kodesh, he's revealing Achdus Hashem in the names of things, even in English. Like we see, that the Rebleivik is medayik also in the names of things as they are called in whatever language it was. But Pashas Rebleivik was doing it in Russian. And he's learning from the names of things in Russian. He's learning new things in Torah and new lessons in how a person should live his life. How's such a thing possible? Over here, you're talking over here about what? About Torah, which is higher than the world. You're talking over here about Torah's to a Yid, how he should live in accordance with Torah. How could you make such lessons from things that are much lower than Torah, from things that are much lower than a Yid and his Aveda in this world? It's Russian, it's the Goyish language. It has nothing to do, it's way beneath the level of a Yid. It's way beneath the level of Torah. Yet, Reb Leivik says that you could do it. How does that make sense? The only way to make sense out of it is to say that even in the names of things in English or in Russian, you have over here a hamshacha from the etzem, from the Eibishter. In other words, in truth, it's kedusha incognito. It's kedusha under the cover of Russian, and since it's kedusha, and therefore since it's part of Torah, so you can learn lessons in Torah even from these things, because in truth, in a very hidden way, they still all come from Torah and they all come from the Eibishter. And here comes the bottom line of the Maimer really. Since the godly energy that comes down into this world in eifin of shame is behelem, is concealed. Therefore, the Eibishter also had to bring energy into this world in a way of oil, in a way of light, because that comes in a revealed way. And through the oil, through the energy that comes into the world in a eifin of oil, misgale gam Hashem, we could also reveal the name of things. And then we have the advantages of both. Shagam ha'etzem sheba Hashem, also the essence, the etzem, which is contained within the name, who babagilui also comes revealed through the light that's shining on it. Whose Aveda is it to take these two separate levels of energy that are in the world, the energy of shame and the energy of oil, and combine them, put them together by shining the light onto the shame, so that we could see the etzem that's hiding in the shame? That's the job of the Yidden. Like you brought earlier in the Maimer, that the Yidden had to go down to Mitzrayim Ervas Haaretz, and they had to be enslaved over there. And over there, what were they busy with? They were busy with Bechemer, Vilavenim, they were busy with the physical labor, the work that they did over there. But nevertheless, since they were Yidden and they behaved in a way of Yidden, Leishinu, Shmam, Lashanim, Levusham, they remained the Yiddish nation. Therefore, they were able to shine a light on all of these things that were hidden in the shamus of the things that were in Mitzrayim, and they were able to reveal the Gatlichkeit that's in it and take it out. So it's the same thing with us over here. We're stuck over here in Galus Leisata, and we have to reveal the way the whole world. We're not going to be taking out anything from this world. We're going to be revealing the way the whole world is Be'etzem, connected to the Etzem of the Eibishter. The way the whole world is Be'etzem, part of the Eibishter. How do we do this? We take Torah is Torah. So we take Torah, we take the light of Torah and mitzvahs, and we bring it into our entire life. We bring it into our entire day that we're living over here in this world. That every part of our day and every part of our life is made bright by the light of Torah. And now through this we could reveal the etzem, the essence that's found of the Eibishter that's found in all parts of the world. And that's the Avodah of Yidden over here. And what happens when we do that? When will we see the outcome of all of our work? That's going to be when Mashiach comes. By us doing this Avodah, it accomplishes Shia Hashem Shalom, that the Eibishter's name will be complete. The way the name is written, that's going to be the way the name is going to be read. The Akise Shalom, and the Eibishter's cheer. In other words, the Eibishter's Hamshach into this world. The resting of the Shechina in this world will also be complete, like it says before, that until Mechias HaMalek and until the time of the Mashiach, it says Kiyod al Case Ka. So it says case, not Kisei. So the Hashras Hashchina is missing the Aleph at the end. It's not Shalom, and the Eibishter's name Kiyod al Case Ka Yudke. It's not the full name Yudke Vavke. It's just Yudke, so it's not Shalom. And the way he touches it in this Maimer is that you can't see in the shame that it comes from the Etzem, but through our Aveda of shining the light of Torah and mitzvahs on the shame in this world and all parts of our life in this world, whenever we come in touch with shame, with the shames that are in this world. So through this we cause there to be Hashem Shalom and Akisa Shalom. B'yachad im shleimus ha'am, shleimus ha'Torah, v'shleimus Eretz Yisrael. This is something that we are in dire need of with the events of these days, that this will come together with the shleimus of the nation will be complete and whole. In other words, there won't be any people chas v'shalom captive, and there won't be any people chas v'shalom who aren't well or are killed, and there will be shleimus ha'Torah. And I thought I was going to make that part of shleimus ha'Torah, but you're right. That's absolutely part of shleimus ha'am. That we the whole issue of mi Yehudi, like you just mentioned, that it should be clear that Yidden are who is a Yid is only according to halacha, and it should be shleimus ha'Torah, and we'll have also the shleimus of the Torah, that the Torah will be adhered to completely, and all Yidden will be connected to the Torah of shleimus Eretz Yisrael. And we'll have the shleimus of Eretz Yisrael, but Eretz Yisrael will be in the hands of the Yidden in a secure way and in a safe way. And what's the inyan of Eretz Yisrael? Shenikras b'shem Eretz. It's interesting to mention amongst the ultra liberal, in other words, the Nitzitzis that we didn't yet get to, amongst the Jewish nation that we're going to get to very, very soon, because Ilu Haya Sham Lo Haya Nigel. We just had that Rashi a few days ago in Chitas. When Mashiach is going to come, like Avram Fried understood from the Rebbe's Sichos, and he turned it into a song. No Jew will be left behind. So every single Yid will come out of Galus. But you still have some Yidden that even in today's day and age, they didn't yet hear the Shefer, the Tkapa Shefer Gadol. They're not yet connected with Sadat Zayin. So they're saying, what do we need Eretz Yisrael for? There's some Yidden that was their reaction. A small minority, and it's hard to tell these days how many of them are actually Yidden, because of so many generations of assimilation in the communities which these Yidden tend to come from. But they say, why is the idea of Eretz Yisrael part of Torah, part of Yiddishkeit? You could be a Yid without Eretz Yisrael. Yeah, they gave it a name. They call it diasporism. Right. Atera Gemara. Over Al Kolpanim. We see over here the Rebbe says that the Shleimus Ha'am, Shleimus Ha'Torah, and Shleimus Eretz Yisrael, and without that you can't have Shleimus of Yiddishkeit. And over here the Rebbe shows the way Eretz, Pashat, the land of Eretz Yisrael, is connected to what a Yid is, and here the Rebbe teaches the connection between Eretz Yisrael and what the Yid is, how it reflects on the character of a Yid, and how it's part of the character of a Yid. Shenikas b'shem Eretz. Why is Eretz Yisrael called Eretz? That it wants to do the will of its creator. And that's what a Yid is. A Yid is somebody who wants to do what the Eibishter wants. And the Rebbe adds in it, and over here you see the Rebbe darshaning a little bit the idea of a name, where the Rebbe is showing the shadish of the name, which, like the Rebbe mentioned before, the Maimer takes a chachma gedela, the chachma of Adam Rishon, to be able to understand how the name of something is connected to the essence of the thing and to its source. The Rebbe says, first of all, Eretz is Melashon Ratzon. This and this is explained in other places already in Chassidus, or even in the Medrash. Shiratz Salasis Tzenkena, but now the Rebbe adds something. The period Shiratz Salasis, who lerak Melashon Ratzon, like it says in the Medrash that it wants to. Elegam Melashon Ritza. It's also from the lashon of running. The Hagam she'eretz hi malchus she'b'chinas helem v'hester, even though eretz is the lowest level, is malchus, which over there everything is concealed and hidden. And therefore the only way we could survive, us Yidden, living in a reality of eretz, the only way we could survive is by just simple Kabbalah's oil of a soldier, of saying that I must do what the Eibishter wants. There's no two ways about it. That's the low level that I'm at. Mikol Makaim. This eretz itself is Melashon running. Huratz lasas ritzain kainei. You see the Maila of the Yid, and Dafka the Maila of this Yid, who is in a Madrega of eretz, that he has in him this unique quality that he's constantly running, not just wants to do, but he's running to do the will of the Eibishter, and that's the quality of people in our generation, in our times, where we're compared to eretz, that we have this Kabbalah Soilam, we run to do what the Eibishter wants, Shiratzim, and that leads to that men loift likasa gula amitis vashlema, that we're going to run towards greeting the ultimate and complete redemption of the Mashiach Tzidkenu, and we're going to go in the lashon of the parsha, b'noreinu, b'iskanenu, with our youth and with our elders, b'banenu, b'vneisenu, with our sons and with our daughters, b'mheida v'yameinu, mamish. May it be now.
Oh yeah.
אז יהיה כוח טוב, בעצם אתה